And we've seen hundreds of students come out of these buildings here after being locked down for more than an hour. And I'm here with Brandon, who is one of the students who was in one of those buildings. Brandon, where were you and what happened?
We were basically locked down in the basement of Evan's lab over here.
What's going through your head now, knowing what happened, hearing the story about the car driving up potentially with knives in hand and that sort of thing, and taking it out on fellow students or people here at your school?
I mean, I don't even know why they did it in the first place. I mean, we don't even know who it was. I was trying to see if anybody knew, like, what they were wearing, if it was something that was planned. I mean, a couple of people think it's like a terrorist attack base. I mean, we don't really know.
We even saw some federal agencies pulling up to the scene behind me. We're at 18th and College Avenue. They came in with police dogs, then they rushed out and went to another scene near that parking garage. Now, since then, the students were on lockdown for a long time. You can see many of the students here on their cell phones, checking in with their friends, with their family, making calls. But they were locked in many of these buildings, some of them in the basements of buildings like this one here. This is a chemistry lab, and I'm told by students who were there that they were forced into back hallways, into the basement of the building, and told to shelter in place. They didn't get a lot of information beyond the initial Buckeye alert that said there is an active shooter on campus. That's how it came across at first. And they said there were people crying, there were people upset, scared, pretty emotional for many of those students. In fact, we saw more than a dozen SWAT officers just leave this building over here and kind of go back to the scene over here where they were congregating by the command post. We've seen a lot of police in and out, more activity as a police chopper keeps circling overhead. You know, one of the perspectives that is kind of unique is not just the students, but the teachers who actually have to be able to corral the students, make sure everyone is safe. And I'm joined by a couple of them. Come on over here, ladies. So tell me a little bit first about what went through your mind when you first heard the news or got that Buckeye alert.
So I was actually in my office with several other colleagues of mine, and we pretty much realized Watts Hall was right next to us, and so all we did was barricade the door and turn off the light, make sure we were like hiding.
What did you have to do in terms of barricading? Did you take chairs or other items and push them against the door, or just lock the door?
So fortunately, I just had like a small filing cabinet right next to our door, and it had a big printer on it, and all we had to do was make sure it was like enough to make it difficult to open the door.
We can tell you we have seen a very, very quick response, not just by Columbus Police, but by the surrounding municipalities, also all of the federal agencies rushing out here with dogs, tactical gear, their long guns drawn, really securing, locking down expressway ramps and other major corridors very quickly, which allowed all of the police to get in, even kind of keeping us back a little bit. So far, now it's kind of breathing that sigh of relief for many of the students and the teachers here. You like my science project here?
I love it. It's beautiful.
Okay, so I had a little arts and crafts time. So we all know that AEP is the main electric company here in Central Ohio.
Okay.
They generate the power.
Right.
So these little orange cables here, don't touch them, high voltage. But they follow the electric all the way up the lines.
Right.
And you have a house, right?
I do have a house.
Okay, this is your house here. So we're going to call that Kurt's house.
Nice.
Even as a big kid, the playground swings are still fun. But studies show they're one of the top causes of playground injuries. Now, that can be from falls, entanglements, or lack of maintenance. So we set out to see how our parks and playgrounds measure up. Well, after all, it is Super Tuesday, and we're tracking it all night long right here. This is the ABC6 election deck. It's ground zero for our producers, technical staff, and web team, and we want to take you on a little tour. This is the Breaking News Center. So when we get those projections, when we get those exit polls, we're going to be bringing them to you right from here. Take a walk with me over to the Media Center. We are tracking all the crews in the field right now and all the feeds across the country. You can see our reporters preparing to bring you the latest information. We've also been tracking all of those national polls and then kind of collecting that data and crunching it all together. Now, this doesn't include the new exit polls that are coming out right now. We're going to bring that to you as soon as we get some more accurate information. But you can see nationally, Hillary Clinton leading Bernie Sanders 51.2% to 40.2% for Bernie Sanders. That's on the Democratic side, obviously. Our social media team over here watching everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, monitoring our websites, bringing you the most up-to-date information on your iPhone, on your iPad, and all our websites. Also, our producers working right now, writing and organizing everything that you're going to see in the big shows coming up tonight on Fox 28 News at 10 and ABC 6 News at 11. Up here, Communications Command Center. This is where it all happens, coordinating all our crews left and right to make sure you have the latest information. Take a look at the Republican side now. These are the national polls right now. 16.2% for Marco Rubio. Again, not including exit polls right now. Frontrunner Donald Trump, 34.6% nationally. Right now we have heard one poll that says Governor John Kasich in Ohio maybe slightly ahead in an exit poll, but 10.4% nationally. He's really hoping for a win tonight. Finally, Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas, 19%. We do it a little different here at ABC 6, and we pull back the curtain and we show it all to you right here from the ABC 6 election deck. But for now, let's send it back down to the studio level. You're telling me that every dollar has been legitimately spent?
Absolutely.
Meals, gifts, and trips. Ohio prosecutors and sheriffs spending your tax dollars. But is the money being used for what it's intended? Well, 6 on Your Side's Brooks Jarosz investigates these outside bank accounts.
And what he uncovered is raising questions about oversight and accountability. Brooks?
Well, guys, general budgets for both Ohio sheriffs and Ohio prosecutors are both regulated and checked by their county auditor. But if you take a look at these outside bank accounts, it's much different. These accounts are supposed to be used for investigations, for education, and also for crime fighting. But what we found is there's little oversight and loose rules which could open the door to potential problems. On a Thursday afternoon, we found the Athens County prosecutor at the country club. Were you supposed to be at work today?
I work very hard for Athens County.
The work starts here, where Keller Blackburn oversees his staff and his bank accounts. One fund called the Furtherance of Justice gives Ohio County prosecutors and sheriffs freedom to spend tax money to pursue criminals. 6 on Your Side investigators discovered receipts for expensive meals, hotels, and extended trips.
Outrageous, inappropriate, and potentially not for a public purpose.
Athens County Auditor Jill Thompson questions the expenses, and with little oversight and vague guidelines, prosecutors and sheriffs can write and tailor the fund's policy to fit their spending habits.
What do you want to see change?
I want more accountability for our elected officials. I want transparency in government. I want elected officials to be held to a higher standard.
6 on Your Side reviewed thousands of records from several Ohio counties over several years. We found in Fairfield County, the fund was used for flowers, coffee, and office supplies. In Franklin County, desks for legal interns, and thousands of dollars in watches from a jewelry store. But in Athens County, it's the training trips that caught our eye. During a conference in Orlando, the prosecutor took himself out for a $90 steak dinner. Receipts show one night he went to Disney and spent $75 for food. And another night, crab cakes in a New York strip cost taxpayers another $75. We wanted to interview the prosecutor, but he turned us down after we wouldn't provide questions in advance.
Mr. Blackburn, Brooks Jarosz, ABC 6. We'd like to talk to you about how you're using taxpayer money.
That's when we decided to track him down after a day on the golf course.
When you're taking yourself out to a restaurant for $90, taxpayers might be upset about that.
We're doing great work down here. Awfully proud of my office. We're taking care of a major problem with oxycodone and heroin.
Blackburn says the trips help make connections to stop the flow of drugs and take down a crooked cop. In San Diego, it was more than $1,000 for Blackburn's registration for a career course. But Ohio Supreme Court records show he never turned in any continuing education credits for completing the course. The same could be said for a trip to Dallas at the National Prosecution Summit. There, Blackburn wrote a check to himself to cover the cost of mileage and a cab. Other conferences with receipts showing dinners with his staff to high-end steakhouses and restaurants. In Columbus, one of his employees ate at Longhorn for $26, but the rest of the group went to Mitchell's Ocean Club for nearly $380.
Is that appropriate?
Absolutely. It's part of the travel plan. It's how we meet people. We get a lot done. We are very proud of my office and what they've been able to accomplish.
But time and time again, we find him traveling to conferences in Columbus and Cleveland a day early and leaving a day after. In September, we found him alone at Morton's Steakhouse. He sat at the bar and was chowing down the night before a conference, then taking an Uber ride back to the hotel, just like receipts show he's done in years past.
It's just self-serving. And I don't think we're elected to serve ourselves. We're elected to serve the people.
The county auditor does not oversee these outside bank accounts and is only given annual reports with limited detail.
Who is auditing this?
The state auditor.
So what have they told you?
They're absolutely fine with the things we've accomplished.
The audits happen every 3 years. We pushed to discuss these funds with Auditor of State Dave Yost. 6 on Your Side was only given this statement saying, "We cannot comment on something we have not seen, but it is normal practice for us to review issues that are raised by the public or media." Auditor Thompson wants to see some internal controls.
How confident are you that a check and a balance will occur?
Not at all.
You think this will just keep going on?
I do. I think that just empowers that official to do more.
So to reiterate, these are outside bank accounts meant for crime fighting, and really it's up to the prosecutors and the sheriffs to set their own rules. So while it may not be illegal, it is certainly questionable.
Yeah, it looks like perhaps some tighter regulations or controls are needed here. 6 on Your Side's Brooks Jarosz was persistent and managed to catch up with him this weekend. Brooks?
And after our team asked for days to speak with Mayor Ginther, a spokesperson sent me an email response on Friday saying if the mayor's available, his office would let me know. Well, Sunday morning, I got an email telling me he would be at the firefighters' memorial ceremony, so we showed up to ask lots of questions.
Some of the people of Columbus are very frustrated.
Officers.
Some folks are very angry. But what's important is that we keep talking.
And finally, after days of asking, we got to talk with Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther.
Where have you been?
Well, obviously all over the city.
But after a city council meeting was hijacked,
that we've taken a lot of steps.
The mayor was nowhere to be found. Protesters upset over the police killing of Tyree King.
What would your message be to anyone who wants to disrupt another meeting?
Well, obviously, you know, we welcome people to council chambers, as council has done throughout its history.
Still, this was unprecedented, and so was the recent heroin crisis responsible for 2 deaths and dozens of overdoses. The mayor wasn't at the press conference, so we asked,
what is your plan to stop this?
Well, obviously, we need to work very closely with the federal government and the state government, and we're doing that.
While funding is important, so is action, which is why a large group shouted outside the mayor's house calling for leadership.
Protesters were saying, you need to step up. What do you say to them?
Well, I welcome the dialogue, you know, and encourage people to continue to, voice their feelings, concerns, and questions. I believe that the city has stepped up, and we have dialogues going on in places all over this city.
And protests still going on as well. Mayor Ginther says he's met with school, faith leaders, and protesters. He assured us he will be accessible. Of course, we'll check back with him about police and community relations later this week. I'm Brooks Jarosz. 6 on Your Side investigates.